Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of Ignition Time. Happy 4th of July weekend, everyone. The latest jobs report numbers have come in. Much better than expected jobs data from the month of June. 850,000 jobs added. Unemployment rate down to 5.9%. 3 million jobs added since the start of this year, since January 2021. Folks, things are starting to look better, but there is both good news and bad news with unemployment benefits. Welcome to our channel, everyone. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda. This right here is a little bit of information about me. Please click like, click subscribe, and enable notifications. I would appreciate that. Let's start with this look from CNBC at the latest job numbers. Let's roll the tape and see the latest data that just came out. Let's watch.
The June jobs report is officially out. It shows 850,000 jobs were added last month, higher than expected. The unemployment rate ticked slightly up to 5.9%. Taken together, the report shows an economy still gaining strength more than a year after the pandemic brought everything in this country to a screeching halt. Yet we are still down from where we were 15 months ago. But look at this. Since the start of the year, as the economy has reopened, as people have gotten vaccinated, we've been steadily adding jobs every single month.
Now, as you might expect, President Biden did chime in. He said, I quote, "We've now created over 3 million jobs since I took office, more jobs than have ever been created in the first 5 months of any presidency in modern history." Let's roll the tape and hear from President Biden. Let's watch.
Wages went up for American workers. Since I took office, our recovery has created an average $600,000. They probably wish those 600,000 jobs paid $600,000 a year, but 600,000 jobs per month. We've now created over 3 million jobs since it took office. More jobs than have ever been created in the first 5 months of any presidency in modern history, thanks to the incredible work of the entire team. This is historic progress, pulling our economy out of the worst crisis in 100 years.
Now, here's a quote from Emily Peck, Slate Money co-host. She said, "Black unemployment is still at intolerably high levels, 9.2%. If this was a white unemployment rate, how would the reaction compare?" This is where we start to get into gray areas. Let's take a look at this tweet from Heather Long, who's an economics correspondent from the Washington Post. She said this: "The good news is that jobs are plentiful. Wages are rising. 850,000 jobs were gained in the month of June. However, the concerning trend is that labor force participation is not going up, and we still have 9.5 million individuals unemployed. There's a great reassessment of work post-pandemic, and many people don't want their old job." In fact, let's take a look at this chart on your screen, which shows you the civilian labor workforce participation rate. Folks, what this basically means is that people are dropping out of the workforce. There are women dropping out of the workforce because of childcare concerns. There are many individuals who simply don't want to go back to their old jobs, their dead-end jobs. Perhaps they're retraining themselves. Perhaps they're reevaluating their skills. Here's another tweet on your screen from Owen Davis, who actually responded to Heather Long, and he shows us a chart that breaks it down by age. In fact, let's show you this chart. And as you can see on this chart, the labor force participation rate indexed to January 2020. What this means is that individuals are starting to retire. Folks, older individuals are starting to retire at a faster rate than ever before. Pretty interesting. Now, let's shift gears and take a look at this article on your screen from the New York Times. As you can see, the United States added 850,000 jobs in June and wages rose. The resurgent economy delivered the strongest one-month employment gain since last summer, which is the latest promising signal about the recovery. In fact, let's start by taking a look at this chart. Hiring jumped in June. This shows the cumulative change in jobs since prior to the pandemic. You can see the significant impact at the start of the pandemic in April of last year, and you can start to see that as we come close to the current time period, things are starting to look better. Now, we're still down 6.8 million jobs since February 2020. However, a significant portion of the jobs have indeed come back. Let's take a look at this second chart. The unemployment rate slightly increased. The share of people who have looked for work in the past 4 weeks or are temporarily laid off, which does not capture everyone who's out of work because of the pandemic. Now, look at this. The unemployment rate significantly went up, and then now it has started to taper down, and it did increase just a little bit. Let's take a look at this chart, which is even more interesting. the portion of the unemployed who have been out of work for 6 months or more rose. This represents the share of individuals who have been unemployed or out of work for 27 weeks or longer. This tells us that long-term unemployment is indeed rising. In other words, individuals who've been out of a job for longer periods of time. This is extremely alarming. Let's take a look at leisure and hospitality jobs that actually contributed to a majority of the gains. As you know, individuals in travel, leisure, entertainment, and hospitality were the ones who had been significantly impacted as a result of the pandemic. Let's take a look at construction. You'll see that 7.6 million jobs in February 2020. So basically, a lot of jobs were actually gained, because compared to February 2020, we're down only 238,000 jobs in construction. And retail, we're down 303,400 jobs. In manufacturing, we're down 481,000 jobs. In business and professional services, we're down 633,000 jobs. But look at the number of jobs that were actually gained. Significant amount of gain in terms of the jobs. Education and health, we're down 1 million jobs. State and local government still down 1 million jobs. And leisure and hospitality still down 2.2 million jobs. Let's take a look at the next chart. This represents the wages for leisure and hospitality jobs, which have actually increased sharply this year. Now, this means that for those in leisure and hospitality, when you got back to your job, you were actually paid more and your wages have risen sharply. Remember, this is a nationwide trend, and you can see the blue line on your screen, which represents jobs in leisure and hospitality, where the wage increase was more than for other industries that were represented in orange. So as you can start to see, there really is a recovery. However, here's the big problem. And this is where the bad news comes in for jobs and economic recovery. Unemployment is far worse for Black and Hispanic women than for most men. This chart represents a percentage change in the number of employed people since before the pandemic by race, ethnicity, and gender. Hispanic men down 1.7% since February 2020, prior to the pandemic. Hispanic women down 6.1%. Black men down 2.4%. Black women down 6.8%. Look at Asian men down 6.1%, and Asian women almost no impact, down 2.8%. White men down 4.7%, and white women down 4.8%. This represents a significant impact, in particular for Hispanic women and for Black women. This is the uneven nature of the recovery of the pandemic. Folks, there are people who are reluctant to join the workforce, but there are concerns about personal safety, their childcare limitations, their early retirement concerns that are actually emerging amongst elderly individuals, and a lot of individuals have decided to retrain themselves, to seek new skills, and to change their job. They are not going back to their old job. I have done another video on our channel talking about the Great Resignation. Individuals who are actually quitting their jobs because they've decided that they need a change in their job profile. They need a change in their skills, and they're exploring new careers. Please click the like button. Please subscribe. Please enable notifications. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.